मला आणि म्हटलं ह्यापेक्षा तुमची स्पीकर जड जास्त चांगली घेऊन आलो. जोर बोलायचं त्यांना मराठी they have played a nice game. They are inviting the students from other colleges. Students from law college. This is the problem. The program does not start on time. Yeah.
So tomorrow we are meeting all.
Again meeting?
No, meeting with our good friend. Tonight we are meeting. You have to come.
And tomorrow again?
No, tonight you come. Bring your son, no? Bring your son. Bring your son.
अरे तुम्हें क्या दिखा क्या तुमको मजा आ रही थी?
He has done women service for this thing. No, your magazine of very good. It is only his work. That I can compete for Prime Minister. But then my next fellow will compete. In the sense that not whoever comes after me, we are one put in the grave now. Next ball.
पसंद गरम रहने तो मैं अपना सिपा और तो कुछ नहीं आता है हाँ हमारे अच्छा what we are discussing arbitration तो माने हमको रेट करून एग्री करून राहिलो नाही होत पण हे म्हणाले की आम्हाला नाव आता डॉक्टर सर आपको डॉक्टर सर वो वो अभी आंध्र प्रदेश you are talking about Sarah. Which one father also? No, we'll try it in one. मला होता ना आणि म्हाका प्रेशरायज केलो की ना म्हाका प्रेशरायज केलो हांव पयलीं जावपाक ना सर तुजें नांव म्हाज्या इन्विटेशनाचेर तुजें हांगा तुका स्लॅब दिला तुका म्हज्या 11 to 11:10 बरें जाता गूड आमकां ताणें रेजिस्टर करूंक सांगलां आमी रेजिस्टर केलां तुज्या बरोबर येता कितें उलय कळ्ळें तुका हांवें म्हणलें कित्याक म्हाका उलोवपाक ना कित्याक सिन्स आय एम फ्रॉम 11 to 11:10 there will be some many speakers who are going to speak before me तांच्या बेजिसाचेर हांव उलयता म्हणजे कितें तशें कांय म्हणना ओके सर सो कितें तूं अशें उलयता ओके आय डोंट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट दीस आनी ते तांचेरूय क्रिटिसिजम करना एक म्हणलें काय करेन सध्या आपल्या भितर सायडीक सांगता आपल्या भितर आनी हाज्या बॅट लागल्या त्याला म्हणटा सर उलयतलोच कितें नाल्या आपणें सांगलें ना म्हणून हांवें आय प्लिडेड वीथ सर नॉट तो उलयलो मागीर एडिशनल सॉलिसिटर जनरल आणि अरे म्हाका इंट्रोडक्शन प्रवीण पयलो सकाळ जालो आपूण आपूण काय एक जण हाडटा ताका वचून करता ओके हाज्या नंतर व्हडलो ज्युरिस्ट
इंट्रोडक्शन सांगता ते आता
पयलें इंट्रोडक्शन सांगता
महेंद्र शर्मा म्हणून तो विसी जाता
आनी
वायस सांगता
आनी मागीर उबो रावच्या पयलीं आनी कशें खूब कशें हितून आय वॉज सांगता मरे जालें हांव फुडें म्हाका तें अनकम्फर्टेबल जालें तें इंग्लीश शिकयलें सोफा आसलो फाटल्यान वचून बसलो पयलो जाता का पयलो
पहिलं तो सुप्रीम कोर्टात
जालें तुज्या पयलीं
म्हज्या पयलीं जाता
ताज्या पयलीं जाता का आरपी पे और 5 ऑब्जेक्शन इंटरनेशनल सेंटर फॉर आर्बिट्रेशन इंटरनेशनल सो दत्तान आपल्याचे कितें तारीख शंभर पयलींच लेट तो कोण आयून बुदीन येवना मागीर तो कोण स्पिकर येवना आमचो असेंब्लीचो गोवा स्पिकर असेंब्लीचे आनी त्या मागीर बुदिनाचेर तारीख ओ काव काराचो काव आवय ये म्हाका काव पूण दिसली का ते बोरो लायला ते पसून ताका सारकें वाचूंक जाय मागीर रावलो ताणें बॅग पळयतात आनी म्हणटा BC IS is for international no before Durga becomes Chantal Gaia जो घडटा तो Chantal वीस जाली ती सगळे जाण उभे रावतात देजावले किती 10 काय 12 जाण ते सगळे उभे आणि एक प्रकारची पर्याय सोड आणि कोण उभे आणि कोण उभे लास्टाक पण दादा उलयता लास्टाक दादा उलय म्हणटा दादा म्हणटा
पटेल गणपत
म्हणजे दादा म्हणजे मी ती फावंडर ऑफ
गणपती
युनिवर्सिटी तो उलयलो आनी फक्त थँक्यू दादाची स्पीच जाली दादाच्या उपरांत दोन तरी बरोबर थँक्स अवकाळी पोचून आणि हो वाका खंय वता वता नियत पडला माय सिनियर तर लोटली कळीच आणि कोण मावील तुझी तुम्हाला लोटली का भाषेत संधी मिळेल सांगतो लोक I am not going to speak any offensive. I had decided not to speak any offensive. But when I center मी मला एवढा म्हणजे हांगा तांकां काय देश ना जागो ना बिल्डिंग ना स्ट्रक्चर ना काय ना मरे
ते सगळे कन्व्हिन्स आले होते आपल्या ऑडियन्स सांगते
लोकल आहा ते 100% बारोड युनिवर्सिटी बारोड युनिवर्सिटी जाऊ मस्त गोंयच्या मस्त आवड एडवट आहे मग पैसे भरपूर It is to be so.
How much time? Not even starting now. Your time left. Why you?
International let us become national. Confidence about
Likely to get it now.
आणि हे
Profit first and more.
लक्षात ठेव या कोणेच इंटरनॅशनल आर्बिट्रेशन करून हांवें केला ते शिवारान गेले तेन्ना पयली सुरवात हांवें केला आर्बिट्रेशन म्हणजे आर्बिट्रेटर हांव इंटरनॅशनल आर्बिट्रेशन हांव सर कस्टमर आनी नॉलेज घेतली कितें आहा हां आणि ते करायचं आउट ऑफ contract of supply of iron ore vessel K and DMG did not have port at that relevant time and Bishop contract the vessel had to give by a particular time and different I was appointed by the foreign firm who was supposed to buy. Sir, regarding and Nolan Ferry after GFC sir. And two was this one. I want to say it and not a very good regard. Not a what only one day. 2 days. Hey, Nolan Ferry said only 1 day, 2 days delay you are doing this. The vessel does not live in time. International prices have gone on.
तो मागीर आनी कुंभकोणी जालो अशें कुंभकोणी जाता ताच्या मागीर हो एक्चुली म्हाका
इंग्रजी फेवर ऑफ द फॉरेन बायर refused to accept the oath after the sitting
ऑलरेडी डिजायन
otherwise you will not own it. Bank also does not own
ना
it.
एक्स
Super world international
अपॉइंट करून रेजिग्नेशन दिला ताणें ऑलरेडी ही ऑलरेडी पण ड्युरिंग द इंटरव्यू ही होल्डिंग
हांवें सराक सांगलें माय यू इज दीस सरान म्हणलेलो मातसो हें केलो करेक्ट केलो आमी कितें ताजेर ऑपोजीट सायडीन हॅपी सो ती फोर नुतना कडेन आमचो अवॉर्ड भायर अवॉर्ड
सगळीकडे असं दिसतं
सगळीकडे म्हणजे दोन लोअर कोर्टान काय नासता कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन लागना लोअर कोर्टान कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन लागना
बेंच म्हणटा हांव ना आता साडेचारांक ह्या फंक्शन उठून गेला कोल्हापूर कोल्हापूर
तो आयला मागीर खूब गेल्लो कोल्हापूर देविदास तूं ते डम फॉर्मेटार आज आर्ग्यू करपाक जाय तूं नाशिल्लो सकाळीं ती स्टार्टेड थ्रेटनिंग दॅट शी विल आर्ग्यू ओके शो
हांव राविल्लो इन केस शी वेर टू स्टार्ट आय वॉज वेटिंग फॉर द
I told her you argue.
हांव तयार आशिल्लो
हे संतोष
तशीच करता पयरूच तशें केलें न्ही
हे संतोष
राजेंद्र हय सर हां तू ऑलरेडी ऑन करून बघ
हॅलो नॉन प्रोफेशनल आयताचीच तुम्ही आता सप्लाय करणार बंद जाता कोणाकोणाक काही म्हणते आता
I request one and all to please sit down, occupy your chairs. Please, those who are in the pantry, please come in the conference room. Good evening, one and all. We are here to commemorate the Constitution Day, which we started celebrating from the year 2015. My Lord Justice Sarang Kotwal, My Lord Justice Valmiki Villages, My Lord Justice Sirsat, My Lord Justice Tawam, and Advocate General State of Goa, the President of our Bar Association, Mr. Coelho de Pereira, Mr. Shivan Desai, the Secretary, and I must say the showstopper of the day, our keynote speaker, Dr. Biren Saraf. I welcome you all for this commemorative function for the 10th Constitution Day that we are celebrating here. The senior advocates who are present here, learned Deputy Solicitor General, the senior advocates, the students, and my fellow colleagues. Welcome you all. Now, when we talk about Constitution, normally our Constitution faces two criticisms. One, the first criticism is that it's very lengthy. The second criticism is that there are too many amendments. There are 106 amendments as of now. I believe the answer to the second question lies in the first question. Since it's a lengthy Constitution, we require many amendments. When we talk about the lengthiness of the Constitution, and if you go through the Constitution, the simple question which we must answer is any of the provision, if you go through the Constitution, if any of the provision we feel is unnecessary, and if the answer to that question is no, then in my opinion, the fact that the Constitution is lengthy cannot be a criticism. And if we see the Constitution encompasses everything. We are a vast country dealing with diverse situations, diverse ethnicities, diverse religions. And if we see the Constitution, it takes care of all the aspects in the sense there is a provision for Northeast, there is provision for Kashmir, there is provision for Union Territories, there is provision for states, different type of states, dealing with different type of ethnicity, different type of religions, and different type of cultures. And all the aspects, namely, we start from Article 1, the Constitution, the preamble, the citizenship, then the fundamental rights, then the directive principles of state policy. Thereafter comes fundamental duties, then the executives, thereafter the parliament, then the state executive, the state parliament, the state legislative assembly, then the finances under the state, the finances under the union. Thereafter we have the Union Public Service Commission, the public service commissions of the state. All the aspects which are required to be dealt with have been dealt in our constitution. The second aspect which we often face criticism is number of amendments. We say that there are 106 amendments, normally criticized for having so many amendments. But barring certain amendments which are struck down by the Supreme Court being unconstitutional, looking at the diversity of the country, looking at the fact that when the Constitution was enacted in the year 1950, we were a very young nation and we had to go through so many social reforms over the years. The criticism that there are too many amendments is not a very well taken criticism. More particularly, almost I must say it's a credit to our parliamentarians that they were aware of the social requirements at that point of time and they came up with necessary amendments to the Constitution. So these are the basic two the criticism which we face as regards to Constitution is concerned. Today we are dealing with a topic. We have a keynote speaker here. I welcome you all. Now I request our President to give a welcome address to the gathering. Okay. First I request the dignitaries to take the leads. My Lord Justice Sarang Kotwal, the Advocate General of State of Goa as well as State of Maharashtra, and our President. I request Simon to hand over the hampers to our distinguished guests. Justice Sarang. State of Maharashtra. Devidas Founder of Advocate General State of Goa. Our own President. Justice Valmiki Mittal. And Justice Now I request the President to deliver the welcome address.
Honorable Mr. Justice Sarang Kotwal, the chief guest of today's function, Honorable Mr. Justice Valmiki Mittal, Honorable Mr. Justice Ashish Chavan, Honorable Mr. Justice Sriram Sirsat, Learned Advocate General of the State of Maharashtra, and today's keynote speaker, Dr. Virendra Saraf, Learned Advocate General of State of Goa, Mr. Devidas Founder, my senior and junior colleagues at the bar, and the students of law who are present. At the outset, I must express my sincere thanks to the Administrative Judge, Honorable Mr. Justice Sarang Kotwal, for accepting our invitation to be the chief guest of today's function. Thank you, sir. And equally, thank his companion judges for gracing this occasion and joining us to celebrate this Constitution Day. In a special way, I must thank Dr. Virendra Saraf for being kind enough to lend his precious time to the Goa Bar by promptly and without any ado accepting my invitation to share his knowledge with all of us here. I do not want to embark on any rhetorical prose and deprive you of an erudite lecture that will follow by an expert on Constitution, Dr. Virendra Saraf, but as the President of the Bar, it is my duty and privilege to say a few words in celebration of this day. Today we are celebrating the 76th birthday of the Constitution of India. The Constitution has, as of today, withstood 76 summers and is today celebrating its 76th winter. The inclement weather and our storming monsoons which this country faced all over these years have not been able to destroy the Constitution. The foundation of our Constitution is the will of the people. In its meeting on the 13th December 1946, when the Constituent Assembly of India met for the first time, late Sri Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, while moving the objective resolution, said, and I quote, "We have met here today because the strength of the people is behind us, and we shall go as far as the people, not of any party or group, but the people as a whole shall wish us to go. We should therefore always keep in mind the passions that lie in the hearts of the masses of the Indian people and try to fulfill them." That's how the Indian Constitution was born. Its base and foundation is the people's will, and that's how India has proclaimed an independent sovereign republic with a well-designed constitution for its future governance. The test of time has proved that the basic structure of the Constitution, the foundation which was laid when the Constitution was enacted as the Magna Carta of the country, had withstood the inclement weather created by political parties in power to trample and or sway the basic structure of the Constitution from time to time. But the Constitution, enacted to express and safeguard the will of the people, has remained inert and has been the pillar on which this country's sovereignty, integrity, and unity has all this while been resting. The edifice of the country and of its people has been resting as of today on the basic structure of the Constitution. The Constitution envisages the three limbs of government: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And it has been designed to make these three limbs, which are interwoven, work within the framework of the Montesquieu theory of separation of powers. Our Constitution has been amended 106 times, as Mr. Datta Lavande said. Some of these amendments were meant to obliterate and or take away the basic structure of the Constitution. At times, the actions of the government have been targeted to violate the rights of citizens guaranteed under Part 3 of the Constitution. But India, as a nation, has survived because of its Constitution. Though Constitution was a document prepared and enacted by the Constituent Assembly, yet it expresses the will of the people. The harmony in which the three branches of the government work, as designed and enshrined in the Constitution, has allowed our country to remain united and to continue to be a federal democratic republic as enshrined in the Constitution, unlike many other countries that lack a stable constitutional foundation, like the Soviet Union that has since disintegrated. Many a time, legislations have been passed by the Parliament which trample on fundamental rights. The judiciary has acted as a timely arbiter right from the inception of the enactment of the Constitution. The first major test came almost immediately in 1950 in cases such as K.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras, Ramesh Kapar versus State of Madras, and Brij Bhushan versus State of Delhi. These early decisions examined the restrictions of liberty and free speech, marking the beginning of a judicial review in an independent India. Then came the moment of 1967 in Golaknath versus State of Punjab, where the Supreme Court held that Parliament had no power to amend fundamental rights. This judgment fundamentally defined the relation between Parliament and the Constitution. Then comes the most defining decision in the history of our Republic, Keshav Nand Bharati versus State of Kerala. Here the Supreme Court enunciated the basic structure doctrine, holding that although Parliament may amend the Constitution, it cannot alter its basic structure. This doctrine remains the backbone of our constitutional identity. In Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan, the then government sought to make elections of the President, Vice President, Prime Minister and Speaker of the Lok Sabha immune from the purview of judicial review by virtue of passing the 39th Amendment to the Constitution. The Honorable Supreme Court struck down the law as being violative of the basic structure. On another occasion, the Supreme Court rose to the occasion when the legislature passed the 42nd Constitutional Amendment, wherein the legislature attempted to reduce the power of the Supreme Court and High Courts to pronounce upon constitutional validity of a law. The judgment of Minerva Mills provided key clarification on the interpretation of the basic structure doctrine. The court ruled that the power of Parliament to amend the Constitution is limited by the Constitution. Hence, Parliament cannot exercise its limited power to grant itself an unlimited power. Much later, in the case of Sudan Singh versus New Delhi Municipal Committee, reported in 1989 SCC 4-155, the Supreme Court pronounced on fundamental rights of citizens to carry on trade and business. As a fact, our Supreme Court, by these various judgments rendered, has proved to be the real sentinel of the country's sovereignty by safeguarding the rights of citizens on whom the will of the people have been expressed by the Constitution. As I am here, it may not be out of place to mention that citizens today, due to the complexity of issues and uncertainty that prevails in the world, with special reference to our country, I may say that citizens have a lot of hope and trust in the judiciary. And perhaps the trust which the citizen has in the judiciary makes him or her concerned about whether a judge will really follow Montesquieu or not. But as a citizen of this country, from the pronouncements thus far made by our constitutional courts, including our own high courts, which have risen to the occasion to unsettle laws which violate fundamental rights, I may with conviction say that the judiciary in the country, especially the constitutional courts, have not shirked their responsibility. By amendment to a chapter 4A of the Constitution, provisions were incorporated to enjoin upon the citizen the duties of a citizen, and they were incorporated by the 42nd Amendment. As Salmon puts it, duty is something owed by one person to another. Correspondingly, the latter has a right against the former. He further goes to say, to ascribe a right to one person is to imply that some other person is under a corresponding duty. As a fact, the law consists of certain types of rules regulating human conduct,
and the types of rules regulating human conduct and administration of justice is concerned, with enforcing the rights and duties created by such rules. In fact, to define right, it is necessary to define two other interconnected terms, namely a wrong and a duty. The existence of a fundamental rights, no doubt, carried with it intrinsically a fundamental duty. But after the 42nd Amendment, the same is enshrined in our Constitution. The topic which Dr. Saraf chose to address today, namely synthesis of fundamental rights and fundamental duties to realize constitutional goals, apparently, as the theme reads, relates to the right of a citizen to evaluate a wrong and observe its duty to uphold the obligation under the Constitution. As I do not want to get into and make any inroad into Dr. Saraf's speech, I would wind up by saying that we should relish and evaluate what Dr. Saraf is going to point out to continue to celebrate the birth of the Constitution in a true spirit, which we citizens should. Before I wind up, I must, as we are all gathered here, and due to the proximity of the event, I must take this opportunity to congratulate the Goa High Court Bar Association football team for winning the coveted Chief Justice M.C. Chadha Rolling Trophy Mumbai by defeating their adversary, the Bombay High Court Bar team. Please give the team a big applause. Thank you.
May I now call upon Advocate General State of Goa, Mr. Devdas Pandey, Senior Advocate, to address the people.
Good evening to all of you. Your Lordship Justice Kotwal, Lordship Justice Chauhan, my counterpart in Maharashtra, Advocate General of Maharashtra and good friend of mine, Dr. Saraf, the President of the Goa High Court Bar Association, senior members of the bar. Welcome all of you. Friends, today we are celebrating the Constitution Day. On this day, the Constitution was signed by the members of the Constituent Assembly. Now, when we think about the members of the Constituent Assembly, we remember hardly few of them, maybe one or two of them. But we forget that there were more than hundreds of members of the Constituent Assembly who were instrumental in drafting this instrument called as Constitution. They were the ones who decided, discussed, and they worked hard. And I don't know how much they have worked hard. Unfortunately, they do not get the credit which is deserved by them. Today, everybody who is sitting here may not be knowing even 5 names of the members of their Constituent Assembly. That is unfortunate part of any system where the real people who are in the background and who have worked hard and who have actually did the work, they do not get the name or the fame. I think something should be done to bring forth the names of these people, and I am sure that in future our association or some other association would do this work and find out who are instrumental in coming out with such nice articles in the Constitution, who were the parts of the debate which took place in the Constituent Assembly. I was fortunate that during my early days of the profession, I was able to read the Constitution, the Constituent Assembly debates. And it is so fascinating, I must tell you, as colleagues at bar, and especially the students and youngsters who have joined the bar, you have some time now to read that book called as the Constituent Assembly Debates. And you will be amazed if you read it, that what type of characters were these people who debated, discussed every word of the Constitution. You will be surprised that on every article, whether there should be a comma here or whether there should be some head note in a particular manner, whether it should be styled in a particular manner, there were debates continuously, and you will get, on that book you will find there will be debates of 5 pages, 4 pages on one phrase itself. And you will find a variety of debates. Now you can imagine that what type of debate took place in those discussions. Today you can't imagine what type of proposals were put forth. I can tell you one instance in that debate. The issue was about the official language of the country, of the national language. That was the issue. And I must tell you, the debate is so fascinating. And I must further tell you that the proposals were not that it should be Hindi or it should be English. The proposal started from whether it should be Sanskrit, whether it should be Tamil, whether it should be Bengali, whether it should be Sanskrit, or whether it should be even Urdu, or whether it should be Hindustani. There was a language before the advent of Hindi or Urdu. There was a language which was called as Hindustani, which was spoken in the north part of India. So thorough discussions. Every word was debated, the pros and cons, and finally there was a proper voting by virtue of which it was decided that one thing is it should be left to the states, that they will decide as far as their official languages are concerned, and as far as national language is concerned, they said it will be Hindi and English also will be used. But it is so fascinating. Every article was discussed, Article 14, Article 19, Article 21. It is really fascinating to read it. And it is not only fascinating, you will enjoy it, but in practice you will really be able to make use of it. You know the ideas, you know the objectives of enacting particular article. That is one part of the Constitution. Second part which you see from the Constitution Assembly debates is that the level of debates which took place in that assembly, it was amazing, I am telling you. I am sure that none of the debates in a parliament or in any assembly in the country would be as good as the debates which took place during that time. And you see the caliber of the persons who were the members of that Constituent Assembly. There was not even one person who was below postgraduate. Most of them were lawyers, they were barristers, but many of them were ICS officers. There were people who were PhD holders, and there you would, I don't want to demean anybody, but they were so highly qualified, and they had thoughts for India for generations to come, hundreds of years to come, and thousands of years to come. And what we see as India and the success of this constitution, unlike any other constitution which were framed during the time when Indian constitution was framed, which were failed, and they were thoroughly failed. And the best example of that is Sri Lankan constitution, Pakistani constitution. They have thoroughly failed. They were contemporaneous with Indian constitution, but the Indian constitution has stood the test of time. And the reason, if you ask me, is the members of the Constituent Assembly and the debates they did in that Constituent Assembly. So that was something fascinating, and I request the youngsters to please read this book. I don't know whether this book is available in our library. I think it should be available. Just go through and you know the people who were behind all this, which we call as the best constitution today. Now friends, I don't want to take much time of yours. The keynote speaker is the one who is going to speak about an important topic of fundamental rights vis-a-vis the fundamental duties. Now on this topic, there is, I think, hardly any discussion or debate as to what is the importance of fundamental duties. Now to me, although nobody speaks about the fundamental duties, everybody talks about the fundamental rights. People now have seen fundamental rights in everything. Anyway, that is the part of the system. But what are fundamental duties? Fundamental duties, although there are some which are mentioned in the Constitution and they are there, but to me, the fundamental duties are actually inborn in the fundamental rights. Now, one would ask how it is. The simple answer to that could be that if you say that the fundamental rights have to be honored and have to be respected and have to be implemented, and while doing so, you have to recognize that if every citizen has a fundamental right, then it is the duty of all other co-citizens, other citizens, to ensure that the fundamental right of that citizen is protected. And if you remember that duty to respect the fundamental right of each citizen, then I think there won't be any breach of fundamental right. So basically our fundamental rights are styled or are fashioned in such a manner that it casts a duty on all of us to ensure that the fundamental right of a citizen is not defeated. And if this duty we are able to perform, then we don't have to speak about the fundamental rights at all. So the prime importance about the fundamental rights is that it is the duty that is cast on the rest of the country to ensure that the fundamental right of one citizen is not defeated. So as we see that the fundamental rights which are mentioned in the constitution may be illusionary or may be small, they are not given so much of respect. But as a matter of fact, the fundamental duties are most prominent in our constitution, because when it is said that the fundamental rights of the citizens shall be protected in our country, that means there is a duty which is enjoined on the rest of the citizens to ensure that a fundamental right of one citizen is protected. So therefore, to me, fundamental rights and fundamental duties are actually sides of one coin. And if you respect the fundamental rights of every citizen, then you naturally tend to fulfill your fundamental right. That is what I feel about the fundamental rights and the fundamental duties. But today, we have an able speaker who is a good friend of mine, and I must say that the Advocate General of Maharashtra is a person who is really down to earth. I have interacted with him. He is the simplest of the men, but he is a great person. He is a knowledgeable person and the most competent lawyer. I respect him for his knowledge, but more than that, I respect him for his simplicity. We are privileged to have him here, and we are grateful to him for acceding to our request and coming down all the way. Although it is a working day in Bombay, he took time specially for this purpose, and he is there with us. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you.
Today we have amongst us our chief guest, Justice Sarang Kotwal. He did his schooling from Dhule. He comes from a engineering background, science background. So when we see him at the bench, the clarity and brevity that flows from there. Thereafter he completed his LLB degree and enrolled as the advocate in the year 1992. Thereafter, in the year 2017, he was elevated as the judge of the High Court of Bombay. And today he is amongst us. I request him to give you an address today.
My elder brother, Justice Sawan, Justice Shivsat, Honorable Advocate General, our Advocate General now I must say, of Goa, our esteemed guest today, Dr. Saraf, President of the Bar, Mr. Pereira, all the committee members, senior advocates and friends. This is the first time I'm having some interaction with the bar as a whole, and I'm very thankful to the committee for inviting me for this function. And you could not have chosen a more auspicious day for this interaction, the Constitution Day. We celebrate three important dates for our country. Obviously, the Independence Day, the Republic Day, and now the Constitution Day. For the first 2 days, we salute our flags, then we have our functions. This is a day where we salute our Constitution, but merely we are offering floral tributes is not sufficient. If we really want to honor our Constitution, we have to live by it and we have to follow all the ideals and whatever it provides for us. Then it would be a real tribute or our contribution to following the constitutional ideals. As far as Constitution is concerned, it's a very intriguing document You see, all the common man, common people in the society, they live by constitution without knowing that the constitution is protecting them. They are living in this free world, they are professing their profession, they are having all the opportunities, they are